How's it going, guys? We are here with another episode of Stock versus Not, and today we are in a NB Miata. Okay, I just need to get that out of my system. Okay, we are in a 2002 Dodge Viper GTS. That is the second gen Viper, and it is actually my favorite generation of Viper, with the fourth gen being my second favorite. But the Gen 2s are definitely the ones I would love to drive, own, have some sort of experience with it in real life. But yeah, what is this Gen 2 Viper? This is a naturally aspirated V10 in a significantly light car when all things considered. It has 558 performance points, 448 horsepower, 489 foot-pounds of torque. It weighs just about 3,500 pounds and fairly balanced when it comes to weight, 4852. Obviously, it's going to be front heavy with that big old V10 in the front end. It's definitely the typical kind of sports car roadster type of deal. Long front and very rear short overhang. This car does come to you with Sports Hard's tires from the brand Central. And let's see where this is going to put us in the ranking board. It's going to be 600 performance points, so I believe that's going to put it up against its newest, the other Dodge that we have on here. That's the SRT Hellcat that we did in the last episode. Is it going to be able to pop out in a 57 second? I don't know. We are underpowered compared to the Hellcat, with the Hellcat having 707 horsepower. But let's also consider we are significantly lighter than it, about almost 1,000 pounds lighter, and about half, a little bit over half the horsepower. The GTR had about 564 horsepower, and that one might be closer when it comes to its times. But anyways, let's go ahead, hop into the lap, see what we can do. Now, this Gen 2 Viper, like I said, is my favorite generation of Viper. I think it is it's the closest thing you can get to the first gen that it can still potentially kill you, but it's a little bit safer. I know the Gen 1 Vipers were just raw power and no traction control, no ABS, and zipper windows and whatnot. It was an iconic car to begin with. Dodge was absolutely nuts for even making that first car, and it just kind of got crazier as the generations got by. Obviously, you know, regulations required you to add things like airbags and other nannies to keep these cars safe on the road, but I think all things considered, the Gen 2 is probably the one that will get you as close to, you know, driving a Gen 1 at, you know, at full race pace, if, you know, you ever get the chance to, and something that can get you, you know, a chance to survive. So how does this car drive with its stock setup in this game? It's actually pretty good. The Sports Hard tires are providing plenty of grip. Opening lap was a 1 minute, pretty much 1 minute flat. That V10 is very smooth. It's not like a punch of torque, if that makes sense. It's a very smooth power band, and you can kind of definitely roll into it. The car is very nimble. I know I made the joke that it looks like an NB Miata, but it almost gives off some sort of like, you know, Miata-esque handling in its stock form. It's not a handful, is what I'm saying. Modern standards, 400 horsepower out of such a big displacement and cylinder car might seem a little low, especially since 400 horsepower can easily be obtained by, you know, 6 cylinders and 4 cylinders these days. But for, you know, 2002 standards, that was quite a feat for this car. Alright, 59.483. And let's see what we can do on this last lap. This car drives fantastic. I have no complaints about it. I think brakes are good, and it's definitely a very easy car to just hop into and have some fun in, especially if you're, you know, kind of getting used to higher horsepower cars, if you're driving on the wheel or on the pad or whatever your setup may be. 3DS's, it's very composed. You can hear the tires screeching, a little bit of understeer there, nothing too bad. Coming through here, our line was compromised from that last bit of understeer, but not to worry. We're gonna take this turn here. I'm gonna go ahead and chuck it here, drop it down a gear. And we're just gonna do a nice little, yeah, definitely a little bit understeer if you ask too much of it. Not bad at all. Looks like our optimal could have been a 58.981, but I'm okay with the 59. That's not a bad time for this car. And again, it's my most favorite one. That how, like, looks wise, everything. I think there's no mistaking that when you see any Dodge Viper, you know, hey, that's a Dodge Viper. Okay. Where did we land? Where is it? 59. Oh, it's gonna be down here probably. No, where is it at? There it is. Dodge Viper did a 59.483, so just behind the 5.0 Mustang there, and just beating out the Focus RS. So not bad. Let's see. Yeah, the Mustang made about 434 horsepower, 448. So yeah, pretty much on par with the Mustang there on similar tires. Let's go ahead and swap cars and see what we got going on. And of course, the fully modified car has to be in the iconic red, red color with the white stripes. That is signature Viper, if anything. Now let's hop into the settings. Of course, we're on racing soft tires. No engine swaps here today. 777 for performance points, 896 horsepower, 777 foot-pounds of torque. The weight, we are up to 3,000 pounds. I tried to get the ballast as close to 50-50 as possible, but even maxing it at 200 kg and having it all to the rear, the best I was able to squeeze out of it was a 41% in the front and 59 in the back. That doesn't sound right. Hold on. Did I overshoot it? I did overshoot it. 1 second. I'm absolutely losing it today. Or wait. Am I right? $45, $55. Can I get it better here? $48, $52. So, now, I'm an actual idiot here. Let me not add ballast. Let's see what happens here. 48.52 is a lot closer than what I had before. I am, yeah, wow. Anyways, 48.52 is what we have ballast wise. We're now down to 2,500 pounds in the weight. Here we have for the alignment settings. I can't talk anymore either. This alignment pretty much kind of keeps the car grounded for the most part. Here is our differential setup, and here's what we have for our downforce. Don't mess with the ballast, as I just realized that I can't number today. High-end supercharger, all your bolt-ons that the game allows for, and here are the engine and weight reduction stages you're allowed. Cool. We are at 790 performance points. What does that mean? We're at the 800 performance points, so it's going to be going up against its other brother here, the Charger, Camaro SS, F-Type, all the fast guys so far that are topping our leaderboards. I'm going to guesstimate probably a 49 out of this thing. If we can squeeze a 48, we shall see. And in my little practice stint that I did with this car, this thing handles absolutely great. So let's hope that I can relay that to this live demonstration. Brakes are even better once you upgrade them. With the downforce, this car sucks down to the road. Supercharger's great. Power's exactly where you need it. Gearing is perfect as well too. I have zero complaints about how this setup is on this car, even with me adding all that weight and absolutely butchering its curb weight. So with it being a little bit lighter, I think I should be able to toss this a little bit more. Being sub 3,000 pounds with that much horsepower is going to give it a pretty good power to weight ratio. 48.836, there we have it, folks. We cut a 48. I didn't know if you had it in it, but yeah, this car just handles so nicely. Let's see how deep we can get with the brakes. There we go. Come around here. The interior of this is so typically like late 90s, early 2000s. It's lots of plasticky and dark, and just looks like it just looks like a Dodge. Those four-mounted gauges is probably the only giveaway that it's a Viper, and the little Viper logo in the steering wheel. But you know, cover that logo up, remove those gauges, and you want to know if you're inside of a Dodge Intrepid, a Dodge Neon, or a Dodge Ram. Oop. There we go. We lost it. It's okay. We're fine. We're good. All right. So, if you're new to stock versus not, for the fully modified ones, we typically will do about 3 to 5 laps, depending on how my driving is. This one's probably going to be a 5-lapper. 1, because I totally destroyed that lap, and 2, I like driving this car. So, that's what we're going to do today. And I think Gran Turismo just needs to have a sports section where you can do stuff like this. I mean, I know they allow some tuning and like adjustments on like some of their daily races, but those are for like the race cars or just stock cars and suspension adjustment. But I think like Gran Turismo should have a special. Okay, that it's that little elevation change that loosens up the rear end when you come around it. But anyway, what I was getting to was Gran Turismo needs to have a thing where you can basically, they just give you like a performance point cap, and then you just go online and it's a race of people who can set up the best car. And I think that'll be great, because there's kind of a weird, with how the balance of performance is right now, it's kind of annoying when you go into a race and say that, you know, like for instance, like today's or this week's daily races is the like one of them is the Red Bull Ring in Group 3, and right now the fastest car around is the Evo 10, which, you know, it's not a bad car, but the problem is that like you end up by the end of the week everyone's trying to win, so you're just in a giant race of Evo 10s, and there's really no, you know, variation in the cars, and then you kind of miss out on using other things. So I think if they were to do something like this, where it's like, hey, like performance point cap of 800, use whatever car you want as long as it stays under that, it opens up all the possibilities and could potentially offer some cool racing, because it's like, okay, well, so what can you get in 800? You know, you have the Viper, you can have a Hellcat, you can have some Toyotas or whatever else I've done so far. All those cars that fall under that, and you can see that lap times will be very similar. So it's not like you need the balance of performance at that point, because people are going to be driving the cars the way they need to be driven. Alright. Since I butchered those two, we're going to do a lap 6. This is the last redemption run here. See if we can get anything better out of this car. A 48 is still a pretty good lap. I'm not going to complain about it. Gone purple in sector 1. Come around this last bit. You gotta take this one a little slower than the opening turns. Come in here. Go ahead and chuck it in here. We don't have track limits, so we can kind of cut that a little bit. Back on the loud pedal and see what we can do. 48.577, so not a bad lap out of the Gen 2 Viper. Let's see where that puts us. I know it's probably going to be somewhere on the top 10 for sure. And that puts it at number 6, just beating out the Hellcat that we just did. So really respectable lap. I'm not upset about it. So awesome lap from the Dodge Viper. So anyway, that is today's episode of Stock versus Not. I will catch you guys in the next one.